Okay, good morning, everyone. We'll begin straight with our Tefillah session course, and then Brachos. So the last bracha we spent time on was Barech Aleinu, and we had finished that bracha. Now we're going on to Barech Aleinu, Berachot. So first of all, this is the last out of the 6 brachos that appear of the requests. We have the first 3 brachos, which are Shevach, praising Hashem, and then we have 13 requests, Berachot, Bakashot, and then 3 more at the end of thanking, Berachot Oda'ah. So within the 13 of Berachot Bakashot, the request, within the 13, we split it into 2 main sections, 6 and 6, that equals 12, of course. And number 13 is Shema Kolenu, which is a very general one, just that Hashem should listen to our cry. But within the 12, we have 6 and 6. The first 6, we said, are mainly the personal bakashot, what we ask for daily life, that it should be as good as possible for us. And then the last 6 are more communal, general, national scale, having to do with the redemption, having to do with Hashem punishing the wicked and rewarding the righteous, and building Yerushalayim and Mashiach. All those are on a national scale. So we're doing now the last one of the private bakashot, which again, we never ask for something privately, but we mean that every individual should be blessed with health, and with that Hashem should solve all the personal issues we have. That's the Goel Israel, and forgive us, and we should do tshuva, and we should have wisdom. All those have to do with personal lives of each and every Jew, each and every person, but on a personal level, to personal scale. So Birkat Hashanim is about Parnasa, that we ask of Hashem to supply us with rain, and that the rain should enable crops to grow from the ground, and that's how we have enough food to eat from. Especially in the agricultural days, when everyone was based on agriculture, then definitely that was the Parnasa. Today, we still need it, of course, but it's the percentage is much, much lower. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's like 4% of people who work in agriculture in Israel. That much, yeah. Yeah, at least Jews, the foreign workers, maybe many more, but the owners, the landlords are just 4% of the population working in agriculture. But in any case, we all need, whichever parnasa we're working in, we all need Hashem's monetary security to live and to be able to buy our necessities. Okay, so that's in general. Now we'll go in a little bit more specifically. Of course, which tribe? We always try to connect each bracha to a tribe. As we said, the 13 brachos, 13 tribes. So which tribe is this? So of course, it's very obvious that maybe the most obvious tribe is Zvulun. Correct. Obviously, it's Zvulun. Zvulun was the one who was a merchant. He went out in the sea to do business, and he supplied parnasa, food, for Yisachar, for those who were learning Torah. So in general, that's the tribe that most resembles this bracha. Okay, now to the actual bracha itself. Barech Aleinu Hashem Elokeinu et hashana hazot ve'et kol minei tvuata letova. So we first ask of Hashem to bless this year and to have all the crops and anything growing from the ground, it should grow nicely for us. So Barech is bless. bless our crops that they should grow well. Why do we need to add letovah? Isn't it obvious that when we ask from Hashem to bless our crops, that it will be letovah, that it will be for our good? Why do we need to add that on to this bracha, to the bracha? So we spoke about this a while back at the very first bracha of Birkas Avos. We say, Gomel chasadim tovim. Gomel chasadim tovim, konei Yaakov es de'avot. We also asked the same question back then. Gomel chasadim is that Hashem does chesed with us. He blesses us with all good and all our needs. So why do we need to say chasadim tovim? Isn't it obvious that chesed is good for us? So the same answer goes for both. The idea is that sometimes a person gets so much that it's too much already. We don't want to be blessed with too much good. Sometimes we hear about these people who win the lottery and they win millions of dollars and their whole life breaks down. Their whole life gets messed up. And they're miserable and they get divorced and they lose all the money and they go bankrupt and they have loans. Terrible, terrible, terrible. So that's by getting blessed with too much good. It breaks us down. We don't know how to cope. We don't know how to deal with so much good. It's also a Kabbalistic concept, as we said, mentioned a while back, that the creation of the world, that's exactly what happened. Hashem's presence in the world at the very beginning was too much light. Humanity and the actual universe itself couldn't bear so much light, so much of Hashem's presence. And therefore, it's what the Kabbalists call shvirat kelim. It breaks the vessels. So we have the sin of the land itself. The land was commanded to produce etz pri, and it produced etz oseh pri. What's the difference? So Chazal, Rashi quotes them on the spot in the beginning of Parshas Bereshis. Chazal explained that it was commanded to create a tree, shetam etz ketam pri. You could taste the branches themselves, and it tasted like the fruit. I mean, that's what it should have been. It should have been that the trees should have grown that way, that the branch would have the same taste as the fruit itself. But in the end, the land never did so. It made etz oseh pri, that there's the tree, the trunk, the branches, the leaves, they have no taste, they're tasteless, they're inedible, and yet, and the fruit is what tastes good. So the Rashi quotes Chazal by saying that the land had sinned for doing so. It's the sin of the land. But what does that mean? The land doesn't have chirach chofshit, it can't choose what to do or not to do. It's an automatic thing. So the idea is that a sin means that there's something missing, there's something incomplete in the world. That's what sin means. Lachti. Exactly. That's what I say exactly. Lachti, when you throw the ball to the basket and you miss it, it's called lachti et hasal. So something was missing. When it didn't reach the final destiny, the final goal that it should have. Why? Because that's too much good. The world can't bear such tremendous goodness. It needs a process. It needs to be the means which would lead to the end result. Whereas that's how Rav Kook explains etz pri versus etz oseh pri. Etz pri means that the means and the final destination are equal, exactly the same. And human beings can't function that way. We need it as a process. We need to grow up. We need, imagine if everyone was mature the moment they're born. It doesn't work. Huh? Like Esav, at least his body, right? Yeah, like animals, actually. Animals are born immediately like they are. They walk immediately. They do everything. They may get a little bit more experience when they grow up, but grow more. But it's not much of a difference. But human beings need a process in order to reach the goal. So, and we find the same with the moon, the sun and the moon. The moon also sins, quote unquote, by saying, how can it be that there are two kings reigning at the same time, the sun and the moon? They were meant to be the same size, to provide the same amount of light. But since the moon complained, how could it be there were two together? So Hashem said, okay, so you're going to be the small one, as he complained. And then Hashem gave it all the stars to add some light to it. But again, what's the meaning of complaining and becoming shrinking and it should have been different? This whole idea is that when there's too much light, we needed to go, it breaks down, we needed to go slowly as a process. By the way, just I mentioned now complaining, remind me of a great word, which I mentioned in the Motzei Shabbos Malvamaka. So for those who weren't there, we'll get it now. A great word by Rav David Amitai, I think his name is David Amitai. He's a Rosh Yeshiva in Tapuach, which is a branch of Elon Moreh. Yeshiva Elon Moreh for many, many years. So there's a new branch that opened 4 or 5 years ago in Tapuach. So he's Rosh Yeshiva there, David Amitai. He says something very, very cute, very true. On this past week's Parsha, it says about the Nisim, והנשיאים הביאו את אבני השור ואת אבני המילואים, לאפוד ולחושן. The Nisim, or the leaders of all 12 tribes, they offered to the Mishkan when Jews were asked to donate to the Mishkan, they offered Avnei Ashor, Avnei Miluim. So Rashi there, quoting Chazal, says that Hanesiim is written without a Yud. It's missing a Yud. Looks like Nasa'am. Eviu. It's spelled, it's the Nikud, issue marks are with the Chiri. So you say Nisiim, but it's not written that way. So why are they missing a Yud? Says Rashi, because they waited till all the Jews donated what they decided, how much they decided to donate, and they waited for the end in order to complete the job. They said, whatever is missing, we'll give. In the end, it turned out that nothing was missing. The Jews gave everything. It says, they gave even more than necessary. So the Nisim were left with almost nothing to donate. And then they donated the Avnei Ashor and Miluim. It's a little bit difficult to understand. What does that mean? That it was all complete, but there weren't the precious stones of the Choshen, the 12 precious stones of the Choshen, and the two on the two shoulders of the Kohen Gadol, 2 precious stones on the ephod. What does it mean? It was all complete, but there was this missing. So it wasn't complete. But it just means that they waited too long. They should have donated immediately. Lead the way, not wait for everyone else to donate and then come along and do your share. So they were taking off that Yud to rebuke them for waiting, for not doing it immediately. On the other hand, in Parshas Naso, in Sefer Bamidbar, we read of the 12 offerings of the Nisim, those same Nisim, who at the very beginning of the functioning of the Mishkan, after it was complete and built, it started to function Aleph Nisan. So as of Aleph Nisan through Yud Bet Nisan, every single day, the first 12 days of the making of the Mishkan, the Nisim offered, each Nasi offered their sacrifices to begin the work in the Mishkan. They should start the work in the Mishkan. So here, they were quick about the job, and they were the first ones to come and to offer their sacrifice. And there's a whole long parsha. Parshas Naso is the longest in the Torah because it repeats itself 12 times, exactly the same words, of the korbanos of the Nisim, which each korban is quite long, like 5 psukim. It's 5 times 12, 72 psukim. 60 psukim that almost unnecessary because it's just repeats itself exactly the same 12 times. So the Midrash goes into each Nasi had different kavana in their head when they've offered the same exact offering, the same 5 sheep and 2 goats and some wheat and all the different offerings. So each one had a different kavana intent behind it, but literally the way it's written, it's the exact same. So says Rav David Amitai, beautiful point here, that when you criticize someone or complain or rebuke someone, just throw in a hint. Don't say much. Just throw a hint to someone that you think it should have been done differently, or you would have preferred it to be done differently, and that's it. Just hint, half a line. That's the missing yud by the Nisim. All the Torah tells us, all the Torah shows us about the fact that the Nisim weren't right by waiting to bring their donation to the Mishkan, waiting all the way to the end, was just to take away a yud from their name. One drop of ink is missing to show us that they did something wrong. But when we want to praise someone, then go on and on and on and on and praise and praise and praise. That you should do with full heart, with a lot of words, just praise and praise, because that you're giving a good feeling. So that's when the Torah wants to show us how good they were, that they were quick about offering the first korbanos to the Mishkan, then it's very long. 12 times the exact same wording shows us how we should behave towards people, that to criticize just to drop, to praise as much as we can. That's mentioning that already. I'll just say one more word. We're coming in. What's that? Okay. So, so now I'll give you. They don't get the hints. Well, I'm not sure it helps to get. Yeah. Least balance, if not much more praising. I'll tell you, people will listen to you much more if you give them a good feeling, so they want to listen. Then it works just by hinting. Exactly. That's a good saying. Wow. Never heard of that one. Did you hear on the Zoom? Tova said her grandmother used to say, you catch more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. That's very true. Kill them with love, as we say. The connection to one more point to connect is we're coming up soon to the end of the week. We're starting Rosh Chodesh Adar Bet, and that's a definite Marbim B'Simcha. But Chodesh Adar Aleph, it's a dispute whether Marbim B'Simcha already or not. Adar Bet definitely is Marbim B'Simcha. And the question is, in what way are we Marbim B'Simcha? What do we do different the day before Rosh Chodesh Adar and the day after for 30 days? What do we do? The difference in Av, we definitely feel the difference. There we don't take haircuts, and we don't listen to music, and we don't marry, and we don't dance, and we don't shave, and many things. We don't do laundry. We definitely feel we don't eat meat. We feel very much the Mematin B'Simcha of Rosh Chodesh, as Rosh Chodesh Av begins all the way through Tisha B'Av, Yud B'Av. Whereas this, by Adar, what do we feel different about Marbim B'Simcha? So Shlomo Zalman says that it means that if you have anything to be sad about in Rosh Chodesh Adar, don't be sad. Make sure you're keeping happy the whole month, and try to ignore any sad moments that sometimes occur to our mood is more down. So make sure in Adar to keep your spirits up. That's the idea of Marbim B'Simcha according to Shlomo Zalman. But the Sfas Emes, he doesn't directly discuss this question, but the way he explains that was a time when they announced and prompt the Jews to donate their machzit shekel. As of Aleph Adar, they started donating their machzit shekel for the korbanos etzibur for the entire year to come. So he explains how come Dafka Rosh Chodesh Adar is when we start collecting the machzit shekel, because a person who teaches themselves to be a giver, care for others, give to others, and not to be selfish and only care for themselves, that's a person. That's what we need for the beginning of the year, to start the year off. That's tshuva me'ava. We have tshuva me'ira by Elul, beginning of the Tishrei year, we have Tshuva Me'ira. That's how we do all the confession and cheshbon nefesh. We change our ways and we perfect ourselves and all that. By Adar, as we begin near to the beginning of the Torah year of Aleph Nisan, that's when the Torah begins the year. So we need 1 month of Tshuva Me'ava. And Tshuva Me'ava is to be good to one another, is to be givers and to care for others. So the way to show this is by donating the Machzit Shekel. We're donating, we become givers. So I think that could answer the question of what does it mean, Marbim B'Simcha by Adar. It's to care more for others than we would during the rest of the year. See someone that's unhappy or has difficulties, so we should try to encourage them, try to help them. So that reminded me of the Nisiim that to do during Adar at least. We have 1 month of imunim, practice. Thank you. 1 month of practice that hopefully will continue the entire year of trying not to rebuke others too much. And as he said, just sent a hint here, a hint there of things you want to be done, that you think should be done differently, but mainly praise people, mainly give good feeling to people. That's what the 1 month of Adar, we should work on that. That's the tshuva that we should be doing on Adar. And that's how we begin the coming year, the upcoming year, which begins Aleph Nisan according to Torah. That's the Rosh Hashanah of the Torah. We begin the new year with this 1 month of uplifting, ben Adam lachavero, and being good to others. Okay, anyhow, so I don't know how we got to all this. Yeah, but it's all under the bracha Barech Aleinu. So we just said that sometimes when there's too much good, so one can break apart, it can break down when there's too much good. So we want Hashem to provide us, requesting of Hashem to provide us with our needs. Barech Aleinu et hashana azot, we should have our necessities, אבל לטובה. L'tova meaning it shouldn't be too much and we break down from all the good. Sometimes people run after more and more especially materialistic aspects of life. They go to motarot, to the extras, not their necessities, and they run so much after more and more. They want so much abundance of material stuff that they break down in the end, because they look back and they check, what have I done in my life? What good have I brought to life? I just have the biggest home or the nicest car or the best or the nicest furniture and the best quality. So what? After all, if it's not necessities of life, it's just like extras, and that's all that they're chasing after, that's not l'tova. They could get blessed by being very successful, but it's not l'tova. L'tova would be that they have their necessities, and anything extra they have, not anything, I mean, they can live comfortably, but beyond comfortably, they start giving out to others. They start feeding other families, giving to the needy and giving to the poor, and giving to the institutions that need support in order to do good. That would be l'tova. We're using Hashem's blessings to us l'tova. Yeah.
I don't want to go off your point, but back to that initial thing about the tree, the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I don't think they have this initial, but a little girl, my family went on a trip to like a forest where you get the maple syrup straight from the tree.
Right.
Have you ever seen
Comes
that?
from the trunk. I've never seen it, no, but I imagine.
Times of Mashiach at the tree, each one has that syrup.
Aha, very nice, very nice. That's a good point.
It's amazing. That's the whole.
Mamish drips out of the tree. Wow. That's great. Very cheap. Mm-hmm. Right? That could be a good idea. Yeah. But that's.
Coming out of the fruit.
Wow.
If the tree tasted like the fruit, then we would just eat the branches in the tree, and then how would it grow?
The book.
Don't give me tree.
You're gonna give me tree.
That's a good question.
It ain't changed.
Someone changed. He didn't do it.
Good question. I have no idea. I have no idea how it was meant to work. But yeah, you wouldn't eat up the whole tree. Right, that could be. Although Chazal say in the end of Parshas, in the end of Masechet Tubot, that in times of Mashiach, the trees will grow everything for us. Meaning, we won't need to work hard to make things. They'll grow the ready-made cake and ready-made cookies, lus kemaot, that everything would just grow from the tree. You're saying it the wrong. You're saying to the wrong crowd, Perry. You say that to the wrong crowd. This is the wrong crowd. Right. Thus it says also, clothes will grow from trees also, from the tree. Le milat. Clothes will grow from the trees also. Even clothes, clothing.
I know. What does that mean?
Zara, Gap.
What
Yeah.
does that mean?
I don't know. We don't know, but that's what Chazal say.
That's
Lus
what
kemaot
we
u klei
made
milat.
of-
The what?
The first clothing was made from leaves. You don't think the leaves of
Ah, yeah, okay. That was the very first, but it sounds like the actual shirts, blouses, dresses, skirts, pants. I don't know. These are things we're beyond our imagination even. Okay, so we'll stop at this point.
Yeah,
For
I'm
the
gonna
bracha.
design some stuff to get it.
Yeah, okay. Anyhow, yeah. First of all, let's hope to get there quickly and then we'll see. As just mentioning that point, in wartime, as I'll tell us, in wartime, Im ra'ita umot mitgarot zo bazo, tzfei le'pamei Mashiach. You see nations battling each other, get ready for the Mashiach. It's getting closer. Yeah. Okay, but each war gets us closer and closer. And the idea behind it, explains Rav Kook in Orot HaMilchama, explains that each nation has their own uniqueness and their own value to provide for the world, to make it a better world to live in. Each nation has their unique culture and capabilities, and what they bring to the world. Now, by trying to conquer a different nation, so you're really missing the point, because you're trying to cancel and to eat up another nation and taking away from their uniqueness, from their special way to add to the world. You're saying, I know better, we know better, we want everyone to do it our way. That's what the nation that's trying to conquer a different nation, that's what it's saying. It's saying, do it all like us. We know the truth. You're worthless. There's no need for this other nation to be independent, to be part of us. And that's how megalomania people try to control and take over the entire world as much as they can, because they feel they know it all. They feel they know the best out of all. They feel their way is the best way, and no one can teach them, and no one else has anything to add. So that's the exact opposite message of what the world is meant to be. It's meant to be shivim umot. We don't want to cancel all the goyim and for everyone to be Jewish. That's not the point. We have our mission, but every single nation has their mission. Hashem created them for a purpose. There's need for the Japanese, there's need for the French, there's need for the Americans. Each nation has their uniqueness and makes the world a better world to live in by each one bringing their specialty to the world. And by a war, it's going the exact opposite, counteractive to what the world is meant to be, to the destiny of the world. And therefore, when the war ends, and 99% of the time when the war ends, in the end, then it goes back to what it was before. These nations, in the end, remain independent. Each country remains independent. They go back, they retreat on what they had tried to conquer, and they go back to their dimension, their proper dimension. And then the Mashiach is closer now, because they come to realize that they made a mistake. They shouldn't have done it in the first place. Yeah, right. Not sure that's gonna convince him, unfortunately.
We're never supposed to conquer the rest of the world.
Exactly.
But as we know from history, we're the only people who ever thought like that.
Right. The Muslims, the Christians try to conquer the whole world all the time. Right. You're straying here. Exactly. Right. Exactly. About what it needs. It's actually worse. It's not better. It's worse. Right. Exactly. Or to convert. We never go out to convert Judaism. Whoever wants to join us, we convert them, but we don't try to convince people to convert to Judaism. Exactly. Right. Endless parts of the world. Correct. Exactly. Okay. Wish everyone would understand it that way. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the brachos. We're finished with the main bulk of this chapter of Kedima Berachot, which bracha goes first on which food. Okay. Now, so we discussed until now the past 4 or 5 lessons. We went through the proper sequence of choosing which food to eat from for the same bracha. You have the same bracha over 5, 6 types of foods. Which one of them do you choose to say the bracha over? That's what we did till now. Zash Chanag. We spoke about the Shivas Aminim, whole, to your liking, Chaviv, clean, fresh looking, nice looking, and big, the size. Those are. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's not the halachic way.
They like, I give them a whole pear, no one wants it. Cut it up into pieces or apples, and it's, wow.
It's more presentful, more delightful to eat.
Right.
Who wants to eat a whole orange? You want someone to peel it?
It's a peel for you. No, peeling is still whole, but you want it in sections, to break it up in sections.
No, I come with a plate of cut up apples.
Then they eat it up. I get it. So we said, so I explained that what you should try to do is tell them, take a whole apple, make a bite, take a bite, and then I'll section it for you. No? Not going to work out? Right. Because it's like to bless Hashem over the whole creation that he made for us. You cut it up, so it's less important fruit that way. It makes it less important. I understand. So, okay. If
don't let them eat the whole thing, so it's not an option.
I get it.
We don't eat it. They won't eat it. It's not even a question. You cut, you go, you cut up vegetables on a plate, they'll go. You give them a carrot.
Yeah. Okay. But maybe if you make them aware of the better bracha that's made, then yeah, right.
I'm just saying that I'm aware of it now that it presented it.
Right.
And I'm trying, and
it's not working out.
Not going to happen. Cut up or they're not eating.
Okay. No, so I understand. Okay, if that's the only way to eat it, we said that many times, even if we have in front of us. Is common. People desire to eat fruit or vegetables, right?
Cut it up and keep it on the table.
Present it nicely with some.
Or containers in the refrigerator and they grab it. That's how people do it. That's why you don't grab a cookie, because it's just as easy to grab the
I get it. Like, no, so we said this many times that if you, even in front of you, not even if it's in the fridge, in front of you, you don't want the whole apple, rather you want the section, the piece of the apple, then you can go for it and say, it's on that. It's what Meaning, if you would then have the whole apple, then you need to choose the apple for the whole apple versus the section. But if you're not planning on eating the whole apple at all, it's in front of you, but not planning on eating it at all, then you don't need to make the bracha over it first. The idea was, if you're planning on having all 5 types of foods in front of you, you're planning on having all of them during this session of eating, and you have the option of Shivas Aminim versus others, then take the Shivas Aminim first. A whole versus Chaviv, take the whole one first. It could be like, let's say, a whole almond. Whole almond is small and no one cuts it up before they eat it. You see the whole almond. And you have a sectioned apple, so take the almond first, even if you like the apple better. That's where it comes into place, this making a decision on what to grab first to make the bracha.
You said the orange is still whole, and I had a whole orange.
Right.
And I was like, make a bracha to somebody.
Right.
Take the whole orange. It wasn't tempting even. The second I had opened
it and sectioned it up.
That's just my point.
Yeah, I understand. Fine. So then, like Rivki said, that's what they like. That's the only way they'll eat from it. So it's fine. So you just eat it that way. Fine. No problem. Okay. Now we'll go on to discuss the situation of different brachos that are in front of us. Which goes first? Meaning, if you have mizonos, ha'etz, ha'adama, shehakol, gefen, motzi, all the different 6 types of bracha rishona foods are all in front of you, which you choose first to make your bracha over. And then within that, we have to do double choosing now. We choose which bracha goes first. And within that bracha, which food do we take first to make that bracha? Right? You could have a whole selection of ha'etz, ha'adama, ha'gafen, mizonos in front of you, like in the Kiddush. You have all the different types of brachos in front of you. Plus, within ha'etz, within ha'adama, within shehakol, within mizonos, we have various types of foods that have that same bracha in them. So besides choosing what we said before, to choose which ha'etz to take in order to say Berachot over, or which shehakol to take to say shehakol over, besides that, we need to learn which comes first, shehakol or mizonos or ha'adama or ha'etz. Which one comes first to begin the whole process of saying our brachos? So this is a very famous lineup, hamaga esh. That's how those are the abbreviations. Before we had zashchanag, now we have a maga esh. I had to remember these abbreviations. Right. Hamaga goes hamotzi, that's the hay. Mizonos, mem. Gefen, gimel. Ayin is etz. Esh, adama, and shehakol. Now, the truth of the matter is, it's very easy you don't need to remember these abbreviations, just to understand the logic. It's very logical, because how does it go? It goes from the most important bracha to the least important. What makes something more important? Which bracha? How do we decide which bracha is more important? The more specific it is, the more important it is. So, well, that's one way to look at it. And another way to look at it is the fact that it deserves birkas hamazon, which is a doraita bracha of the after bracha. So hamotzi always comes first because it deserves birkas hamazon after, as an after bracha, so it's definitely more important than all other brachas. That's why hamotzi comes first. And it's also very specific because it's just for bread, hamotzi. Then comes mizonos, that's still based on, it's also very specific, because it's only cakes, cookies, all the flour, any food that's made with flour would be mizonos, one of the five grains. We'll discuss rice separately. Right now we're talking about the mizonos of the 5 grains, not the mizonos of rice. That's a whole different discussion. But the mizonos of the 5 grains comes after hamotzi. Obviously, if you don't wash for hamotzi, you have only cakes in front of you or crackers and things of that sort, pasta. So those come first because A, they're specific. B, they're made out of flour, which could also create bread, which would deserve birkas hamazon. The fact that from flour you make bread, so even though in this case you did not make bread, you made mizonos food, but it's made out of the same flour that you could make bread. so it's considered important. So that's the importance of mizonos. And then hagafen, very pre hagafen, because from within the rest of the types of brachos, it's the most specific because it goes only for wine and grape juice. Very pre hagafen is only wine and grape juice. So it's much more specific than ha'etz, ha'adama, and shehakol. So it comes after mizonos. Then we have ha'etz coming before ha'adama because anything that a tree itself also grows from the ground. So really ha'adama is inclusive of those vegetables that grow directly from the ground and fruits that grow from a tree. But diavad, if someone says Barech Adama over a fruit, he's yotze. Whereas if you say Barech Ha'etz over a vegetable, you're not yotze. So ha'etz is more specific than ha'adama. That's why ha'etz goes first. Then ha'adama is obviously more specific than shehakol. Shehakol goes for everything. Even those foods that don't really deserve shehakol, but if you said shehakol over them, you're yotze. Shehakol is very, very inclusive. It has no specificality to it. We're not mentioning anything specific. You say shehakol niyeh bidvaro. Hashem created everything. That's the most inclusive wording of a bracha. Whereas Barech Adama, Barech Etz, Barech Gafen, you're singling out something specific that Hashem created, so it's a more important bracha. As we said at the very, very beginning of starting the Berachot Brachos, we said at the very, very beginning that it's like when a person compliments someone or thanks someone in a very general manner versus a person who compliments someone very specifically. You could say how nice you look or how good the food was. That's a very general compliment. But you could say your dress is beautiful or the chicken was delicious. If you make the compliment or the thanking more specific, then makes the other person feel much even better than just generalizing the thanking of what you received from that person. So same with the Pei Shamayim towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The more specific we get, the more meaningful it shows that we're enjoying Hashem's creation in a more meaningful way by specificating our bracha. That's why it's a more important bracha, the more specific it is. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Very nice. Every detail I want to thank Hashem for. Very nice. Very nice. At the very end, we say, in that section, we say in the very end, and we mention all of them one by one, and then we say a very general thanking at the very end of the Haggadah. Yeah, and we summarize that everything is terrific, and Hashem is always with us. But you're right, that's a beautiful point that we comment on each and every specific episode along the line of redeeming us. We thank Hashem for each one of them specifically. Very nice. Now, the big surprise, I would say, after, at this point, it seems very simple. Hamaga'ish, that's how you choose which bracha which food to take first of different brachos. And after you made your decision which bracha to take first of the different brachos, then within that bracha, you have to decide which actual specific food you take from in order to make that bracha. As we said, the Zashchanag, choose the proper fruit to say Barech Ha'etz over, or the proper food of shehakol to say shehakol over. So it seems very simple now, but there's a little bit of a complication here, mainly for Ashkenazi. Sephardim keep it simple. For them, it's really hamaga'ish, as simple as that, very easy to follow. For Ashkenazim, it's not so simple because the Mishnah Berurah finalizes, and that's how all Ashkenazi poskim prefer that we do it, that true that a motzi comes first, mizono second, gefen third, that's true. But between ha'etz and ha'adama, it's not so simple. Between ha'etz and ha'adama, if you have now a selection of fruits and vegetables to choose from, so it's not automatic that you choose the ha'etz versus ha'adama and then the shahad. In the sequence and the order of saying the brachos. According to Sephardim, most Sephardic poskim hold that it is automatic, that ha'etz always goes before ha'adam. Oh, so let's see what else do we add? What criteria comes besides ha'etz versus ha'adama, that ha'etz goes first and ha'adama second? What other criteria do we have in order to choose which goes first? So here, the confusing point about this is that it's in an opposite order of zashchanag that we said that depends, that's within the same bracha which fruit to choose from. How do we choose now? Between ha'etz and ha'adama, chaviv goes first. Exactly what Chaim just said. If you like strawberries more than an orange, then you should say the blessing over strawberries first. Say ha'adama first, and only then ha'etz over the orange. That's how it actually should be done. Even though from kindergarten we're taught hamagaesh. We never heard anything different than that. That's the sequence we thought always very simple, but it's not true. For Ashkenazim, it's not true. You choose chaviv over ha'etz versus ha'adam. Ha'etz goes first. One you prefer, one you like more, and the liking is you like more in general, as we said many times, not what you prefer right now, but in general you like the other type more. It's what you like in general. So if in general you like a carrot more than you do an almond, so say the Berech Aleinu first on the carrot, and then Berech Aleinu on the almond. That's firstly, that chaviv goes first. Why is that, by the way? No, the overall chaviv all year round, which you generally prefer, not for the moment, not at the moment. Even if at the moment you see this delicious almond, it looks to you much nicer than the carrot, doesn't matter. You say the bracha over the carrot because in general you like carrots more than you like almonds. Right, mamash, exactly. You really feel your inside liking what you also usually desire. Right. To be aware of yourself. Be aware. Self-awareness. Correct. It's a good point. Yeah. That's all. Judaism in general is all about that. Self-awareness and self-control. That's all about that. All the Judaism is trying to do, to get us aware of our inside personality, and not just do things without thinking. We have to think of what we're doing and think of. Right. Exactly. So that's firstly that chaviv, in a general matter, goes before ha'etz versus adama, just between those two brachos. I'm not saying this is true for mizonos versus ha'etz or ha'etz versus shahakol. No, that's always according to maga'ish. All the others all the other types of brachos in this sequence, in this lineup of the different brikos and anin, they stay the same no matter what. Even if you prefer strawberry much more than you prefer the cookie, you say mizonos first. Those are set rules without any changes. But between ha'etz and ha'adama, we do have this other considerations that sometimes trump the normal order, the sequence that we said of a maga'ish. The first one is chaviv, then shiva saminim, meaning if you've got an ha'adama that's shiva saminim, how can that be? Shalva, we said many times, which is puffed wheat. So wheat is part of shiva saminim. Chita, seora, gefen, and one. So chita, puffed wheat, so shalva would go before, and that's ha'adama, because it's only puffed, it's not baked or cooked, so it remains ha'adama. So the bracha is ha'adama, but it's part of shiva saminim. That would go before an orange, an apple, any ha'etz that's not part of shiva saminim. Or even if you have an ha'etz that's part of shiva saminim, but nothing really could go before shalva, because the puffed wheat is the first one written after the word eretz. Eretz chita. It even goes before olive, which is written first after the second time the word eretz appears in the pasuk. Eretz zeit shemen udvash. But first versus first, you go to the very first, meaning chita versus zait. They're both first lined up first after aretz, after the word aretz. But the first time the word aretz is mentioned, you get to the wheat, and only after the second time you get to the olives. So shalva would come before any ha'etz you've got, because it's shiva saminim and the first shiva saminim mentioned in the pasuk. So after you choose, if you like both of them equally, the ha'etz and ha'adama, you like both equally, because the liking, the desire, your general desire, at all times would come first. Chaviv tamid would come before anything else. But if you like both of them equally, then you choose the shiva saminim over ha'etz versus ha'adama. That's the deciding point. And only after you've gone through chaviv and shiva saminim, meaning that those two aren't deciding factors because you like them both equally, and they're both not from shiva saminim. Let's say it's just like you said before, a carrot and an almond. You like them equally. Only then do we go to hamaga ish. Only then we decide that ha'etz goes before ha'adama because it's more specific. More specific. It's only if they're both equally to your liking, and they're both non-shiva saminim, because if they both are shiva saminim, then it would always be it could only be puffed wheat. There's no shiva saminim. There would be ha'adama besides that. Barley that's not cooked or baked. I don't know if there's any type of, you would eat that. A granola, that's a good point. Granola is oats. It's made out of oats, granola. Now but you're right about that, because for some reason Chazal categorized the 5 minei dagan, the 5 types of grains. We characterize them as either chita or seora. Meaning, Chazal say that wheat and kusmin, spelt, they are both characterized as wheat. And barley, oats, and rye, chiffon, shibolet, shual, and seora are all one type also. Those are 2 categories. I don't know if it's botanically, if we can explain that. What's the connection between oats or rye and barley? Why are they under the category of barley? And what's the connection between spelt and wheat? Why is spelt under the category of wheat? But for some reason, Chazal split them into 2 groups. So Tova is right about that if you're eating granola, which is ha'adama because it wasn't baked or cooked, so that's a type, although it's oats, it's a type of barley. And since it's a type of barley, so it's still under the category of shiva saminim. It's a very important, very interesting point there. Very interesting point. And it's under the type of shiva saminim of barley, which is second to the word eretz. So if you have granola versus olives, if you have in front of yours olives, so olives goes first. If you like them both the same, first go to your liking. But if for some reason, I don't know, whoever would like olives as much as they like granola, but if they like them equally the same, so you've got to choose the olives first, because the olives comes first after the word, second time the word eretz appears, and barley comes second. But if you have spelt in a way that's made for ha'adama somehow, then it would go first because that's part of chita. So again, we're getting a little bit more complicated here. But if in mizonos, we don't care at all what it is, because mizonos always goes before ha'adama and ha'etz and everything else. So if it's mizonos food, then we don't care at all if it's spelt or rye or oat or whatever it is. Mizonos is mizonos. But within ha'adama versus the ha'etz, we choose those, the 5 grains really go before all the other fruits, even of shiva saminim, except for olives, which would go before the three types that are under the category of seorah, of barley. But definitely, Tova is right that all 5 grains, as ha'adama, even if they're not cooked or baked, but they're made like ha'adama, like granola or puffed wheat, they would go before fruits that are not Shiva Saminim. Any fruit that's not Shiva Saminim would only go after one of the 5 grains, which are made only puffed or only roasted, that remain ha'adama. That ha'adama would be before any other fruit. Only after you have non-Shiva Saminim fruits with non-Shiva Saminim ha'adama, then we choose a eitz versus, and they're both to your liking equally, then you choose to say Berech Etz before Berech Adama. Only then do you come to Hamaga Ish, which is what we learned in kindergarten, that Ha'etz goes before Ha'adama. It's only third on line after Chaviv and Shiva Samini. They take over, even if it would be to say, even if that would mean to say Ha'adama before Ha'etz. Only after you've gone through those two, then Ha'etz goes before Ha'adama. That's for Ashkenazim. Sfardim always choose Ha'etz before Ha'adama, no matter what. Even if the Adama is puffed wheat and the Etz is an almond or an apple, they choose the apple to say Ha'etz first, because according to them, Hamaga Ish is always true. Always true. There's no exception. Hamaga Ish, that's the lineup that they say. If Ashkenazim would do the same, not so terrible. If we just decide to do the simple way and the Ha'etz before Ha'adama, not so bad. But if you remember these rules, better yet if you do the Chaviv and Shiva Saminim, and only then Ha'etz versus Ha'adama, Ha'etz goes first. Okay, that's it for today. Okay, hope it's not too complicated, but I made it as clear as possible.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. Kol Tov. Have a good week. Bye-bye.